This is the Friday after Thanksgiving, so it's a little like a pause day. um, we had a little vote before class about which direction to go. So I'd like to today work, it's different than what I wrote in the email on this Friday. Um, if you just make a spiral, this will be in way of showing what we're going to work with. If you make a spiral, almost like you're spiraling, maybe it's two spirals. See if you can notice not the movement of your hands, but the sort of space, the still space around which this spiral movement is happening. So I could focus on my hand and then I'm in the movement of it, like just shift between I'm in the movement of the hands and they're kind of I don't know if this is it's sort of spiral. I'm like doing it's almost like I'm scooping, but I'm doing that around each other. So this would be, let's say we're talking about the blood flow from through and around the heart, where the heart it sends it through valves. We could be in the blood itself. Or we could put our attention, we could put our consciousness, we could drop our consciousness, that receiving, if you think of that as the back of your head, that receiving consciousness into the center around which you're not in the blood energy, you're in the quiet, the center. Maybe actually, I don't want to impose a quality to that center because that's what we're going to do. We're going to work with the centers that are created by tornadoes, by the spiralic movement of the universe, that the pairing with the movement part and then whatever that center is. And we're going to find that I'm exploring, I think that's in all our tissues. So we're going to work with that with our, all our, as many layers as makes sense today, or even just as a seed, you might know a different tissue layer. So the other thing, so some anatomy is perhaps required. And one thing is often if we're struggling with finding something to create a vortex, we actually often need 2 points. This is what we did on Wednesday, the polarities. So now have your hands here and here. And if these 2 points are the same electrical charge, what's going to happen is the movement at each point is going to swirl away, like let's see, this going away and this going here, like 2 different arcs. So there'll be a space. They're not drawn together, so there'll be a molecule of like space. So this is going to happen when we're looking at the fascial system or the interstitial fluid. There's fluid flowing, but wherever there's a membrane, very often there's this little bit of space. So you could do that. So we might have fluids, but where it's bumping near something, there's a little space created. And if you ever get lost, find the sort of the polarities of like we might do the spine, the top and the bottom, and there's movement between, and then we're going to be looking at the central channel of the spinal cord and actually feeling where that central channel might actually go through all the nerves. So that very deep center of the spinal cord, the space in the skin, the center of the blood vortex, and we might find something else. So that's just to set us up. And then you could sit or lay down. I guess I may come back to sitting, but I'm going to start laying down. And allow this moment perhaps to be that center, that I guess I will invite a quiet center of the swirl of life. You may have a long to-do list. You may have things to do or something you came from, but can this moment be one where you aren't doing, or that very kind of gripping phrase of I have to get done, I need to, versus here I am, and then even when you switch from here is I want to. In the scheme of thing, I want this done. So for a moment, letting all that, the swirl of the I should, I have to, I need, all that fall away. So that in this moment, you're doing exactly what you are doing. I am in my place. And this is action. In the sphere, in the range of action, stillness, receiving, just being and letting, for example, my words or your breath or your thoughts rise and fall away. I'd like to invite you to do 3 hums, but in a certain way. And that's, you take your thumb over your ears, you put your index finger on your brow and let the other fingers fall still. So you're basically closing your ear, and just do 3 easy hums. You let the air come in through your nose and out as you hum. And just let that vibration and that buzz feel, let that feel, we'll let it be what it is, and we're feeling for the movement and the stillness. And the lingering vibration of the hum in the coming into our head, and in, like you could even touch your brain, your head, and the incredible tissue of your brain, surrounded by fluid and fat in all these folds. Like a walnut, 2 hemispheres, and the cerebellum down by the occiput. And then inside, like, is it like kind of the shape if you had your hand, made a little fist around your ear, gentle open fist. That's not a gripping fist, just the shape of the brain stem with the spinal cord is like your elbow going down. So this walnut folded 2 hemispheres, cerebellum inside the brainstem, and around the brainstem and around in there, these our sinuses, our spaces, fluid, building and moving, and a little channel through the center, through probably the center of everything. That's the canal in the center of your spinal cord, like from like the lake up in your brain, following it down. Cerebral spinal fluid is around the spinal cord and through that center. And in the center, letting your consciousness be in your whole length of your torso. The spinal cord ends kind of at the lumbar spine, and then it's like the horse's tail, all these plexus of nerves. You can kind of imagine that center of center coming out through every nerve, every axon. And I won't say much for a while. It's just go like we did in the beginning. Go from the movement of the fluid or the quality of a nerve, and then come into that still center. And when we do nerve work, really feeling for the fatty, insulating quality, we're kind of letting like we're finding the space between the electrical charges. So that beingness in the center. And I'll be quiet as you just flow in the consciousness of that space. Letting yourself feel the weight of that nervous system, its mass, as you find that empty, that weightless center. So the mass, we're in the mass of the nerves, the fat, the tissue, the fibers. And then that delicate, that light space within. And you might feel the polarity, so from like mass to space, from the movement, the current, the electrical currents, and then the stillness. So almost like imagining lights blowing through you, like like this chart, all the messaging and communication, sorry, that the nervous system provides, like the saying yes and no and yes, and then that quiet inside of it. So perhaps it's the loudness, loud, active, and then the partner of listening and quiet. And you might find other pairings. And depending on what you need, perhaps you've been very collapsed and very, so focused so on quiet or something that you might want to be with the movement. I'm perhaps emphasizing that quiet center because I could use a bit of that right now. And then as it feels possible, feels good to you, feel it with that, almost like you have the image of the whole nervous system, the sparkly lights of the nervous system and its quiet center. The nervous system dances and touches and works with the fluid flow of the blood, of the blood circulatory system. So you could meet that circulatory system as if it's the nerves matching with the arteries and veins. Taking that back to the circulatory center at the heart and the nervous system center at the brain. So you could for a moment even have your hand on brain and heart and yet feel the systems of those systems, how they're woven, how they touch and weave, and how these central kind of bigger structures like the hub of these two spirals interact with each other, are interdependent. Heart, all the arteries and veins coming and circling the brain, and as that fluid passes in capillaries around the nervous system, it leaves out the blood cells and just goes in, and then it's cerebral spinal fluid. And then as cerebral spinal fluid moves through and picks up some blood cells, it becomes blood. So for a moment, being with the two inner webs, feel almost if you were drawing a picture or in your own, the different quality of coming from a nerve to an artery or to a vein, a different kind of density, different tissue, the muscularity of the arteries. Muscle of the heart, so coming embryologically, coming from really a different part of our little zygote to create this energy giver, bringing nourishment everywhere, like that, our inner engine. And in that coursing through of fluids of the blood, how in the arteries it's like two vortexes circling, moving, just like any fluid. Imagine the water going down the drain or something's water, the galaxies spiraling, and then you could be with the swoosh of the fluid
coming out of the heart, swooshing. Or you could be in the center of the swoosh. Like a gentle observer, it's like, oh, you just step into the center and that swoosh is all around you. But you literally can be unperturbed. Letting your consciousness come, maybe your hand to your heart center, be the literal heart and the sense of the heart center under your ribs, leaning a little left, woven, the connective tissue of the diaphragms comes up and wraps around the heart and anchors it back down. So the heart is like on this dancing trampoline of your breath. So feeling your heart being rocked. And of course, the heart with all its tentacles, all its limbs moving out from it, that those limbs are moved by your breath too. And they're near the nerves, so the nerves are swung and moved with the breath and the blood and the heart, rocking your brain in the fluid of the spinal, of the flow of the fluid up and down your spine, but also out to the peripheries. As tissues are different densities, they'll rock. That gentle inner rocking, that inner tidal pulls are different. If you're muscular, like the heart, that's so different than if you're fatty, like the brain and the spine. And in the rocking, finding the center of the rock, yeah, of the rock, right? Finding the rock in the rocking. Picture lying on one of those, when we just can take a rock for granted out there. We're often touching something billions of years old. Imagine being on like a warm, dark rock, or maybe you have a favorite. Maybe yours is a granite rock, but some expanse of rock on the edge of the lake or the sea or in the forest. Feeling that the rock in the center of our rocking meets the rock, the earth, which is a rock. Find that rock of the earth. the earth rocking in the universe, pulsing, breathing. So it's like we can often feel the soil and the sky and the life of the earth, the breath of the earth. And then we come to the rock, to the life of the rock. But again, such a different density. So feeling the movement in the rock and the rock in the movement. And you could stay here, could click off the recording. You could stay in this rocking for as long as you wanted. For the purposes of us who are here in where there's a recording, I invite you to come back to the thumb on your ear and for those of you, if you carry on, just do this to finish. It's like we have a beginning and then in the middle we come back and end the same way. Thumb on the ear, index finger on the brow, just above the eyes, other fingers gently on the face, and 3 long hums of the air falling in. Just letting that vibration move all the way through those still channels throughout your body and your being and the earth and the sky. Thank you.